What's up, family? It's your boy Mark Black. I know I'm probably a little late to the gathering, but I wanted to do a little bit on the situation with the young man in Idaho that was raped by fellow students at his school. First of all, I want to give a shout out to Brother the Jedi, and he did a collabo with another YouTuber. I haven't had a chance to check out his work, so I'm not going to throw his name out there. But if you go to the Jedi's channel, he really, him and this other gentleman really go in on the sick, psychosexual shit that goes on between the pale people of the dominant society when it comes to us. And so I'm not going to rehash that. I don't think I could do it any better, to be honest. What I actually wanted to talk about is I wanted to take a different tack, if it was possible. The young man who was victimized by these monsters was an adoptee. He was adopted by a white family, and they live in Idaho. Dietrich, I think, is the town in which they live. I can tell you for a certainty that Idaho is probably one of the most unsafe and racist states in this country for black people. If you look back even as far as the early 90s, you had the Ruby Ridge incident. That was in Idaho with Randy Weaver, the white separatist whose family, his wife and his son was killed by the FBI. He was part of a separatist group that was based in Idaho. They have a lot of active race soldiers in Idaho, including police officers, judges, etc. So any black person that lives in Idaho off the top would be in a position of danger. But on top of that, we need to start looking at what's happening with our children when they're being adopted by these white families. Now, I'm not going to say that the young man's adoptive family was in any way to blame for what happened to him, except to say that anybody who would adopt one of our children without a recognition of the sick system that we live under does not deserve to have one of our children. I'm not keen on the fact that so many of us are refusing to adopt our own children. What's really interesting is that these people are adopting our children or fostering our children, and they're actually being paid big money to foster and adopt our children, right? There are entire foster families where the entirety of the income of the family comes from the state. That's right. They're paying these people to take our children away. Now, never mind the fact that we're letting them take our children away. I mean, there should be some serious thought and action put towards keeping our children in our community. I mean, this shouldn't even be up for debate. But they are using our children just as they use us adults to generate revenue. Okay? These children are resources. They're financial resources for people who already have the fucking lion's share of all the resources in this country. So rather than rehash the sick psychosocial sexual bullshit that exists in the minds of these monsters, I actually want to do a bit of a PSA, right? A public service announcement. There are a lot of single mothers in our community who are good women, right? They're single moms. They have multiple children, right? They're not ripping and running the club or whatever the case may be. A lot of them are halfway decent. You know, not necessarily ratchet or whatever else you want to call them. Just decent women who have children, who have family. I would like to invite these women to submit their names forward to be foster parents. If they're going to take our children and use our children as a resource, a financial resource, right? Wouldn't it behoove us to try as best we can to take some of those funds back and put them in our community? In other words, have these children with foster mothers and foster fathers that understand the struggle that comes with melanin, right? That understand what a little black boy or a little black girl has to go through in this society, who are not so fucking stupid that they would move this child they claim they love to a place where things like this are likely to occur. It's not this isn't a one-off, right? This isn't a one-off incident. Any of us who have spent a lot of time around groups of pale people, right, have found ourselves in certain situations that are a combination of violent and sexual. Violence and sexual. We understand that they get off from seeing us be victimized. That's a sick sexual attraction for a lot of them. I mean, you have these websites like ghettogaggers.com where these bastards will go into the neighborhood and pay some woman, some black woman, X number of dollars so that they can do horrible things orally to her. Oh, and I heard there's this other website now for gay men, thug hunters or something like that, where these guys are now paying off other males in our community so that they can sexually victimize them. Make no mistake about it, whether they get paid or not is immaterial. It's still a victimization, in my humble opinion. We have to start making people aware that there are ramifications for certain actions that are done to us, right? Like, I saw a video on Facebook today of these children at a park, and they were playing. They were black kids, and there was a white lady there, and this cop, I guess, came up and started harassing these young children, threatening to arrest them and what have you. And this white lady swung on this motherfucking cop. I mean, she literally opened up and started throwing bombs on him. She wrestled with him, took him to the ground and everything. He had to actually mount this lady, and she was still swinging. You see what I'm saying? She was still swinging while this fool was on top of her. She didn't give that fool a moment of rest until she didn't have anything else left. Now, I'm going to tip the hat, right, to that lady, because that's the type of allies, that's the type of guts that we need. But why should that be them doing that? In other words, when we see these incidences go on, right, the rape of our children or the shooting of another individual of our community, of our people, of the family, right? Why are we not retaliating? Now, I know some of you will say, Brother Mark, you're advocating violence. No. What I'm advocating for is defense. The fact is that the violence is already being visited upon us. All right? They tried to keep it on an individual level because then that helps to kind of remove the justification that we actually have to be in a ass in every way, shape, or fashion we can possibly do, right? They try to keep us focused on these little individual incidents so that at any time a group of us get together and act, which we should be doing every single day, and visiting back upon them the same thing that is happening to us, they can point to us and say that we're the violent ones, we're the aggressors. Essentially, we're damned if we do, and we're damned if we don't. So if we're going to hang for lambs, we might as well hang for sheep, people. What I'm saying is that we need to start stepping up in defense. When we see these incidents happen, people should not be walking with impunity. Okay? Period. Point blank. The end. That's it. All this talk about how bad we are, how, we the shit, we kick all the ass in the world. That's all bullshit. And I know it's all bullshit because if we were so tough as a people, these things that occur on almost a daily basis would not happen. And it really would come down to simply one reason why it wouldn't happen. Because people would be too damned afraid to do the things that they have been doing. No one fears us. That's not a diss. That's a fact. No one fears us. And guess what? They don't have any reason to. Most of all of our acts of retaliation and violence are directed at us anyway. We direct that shit at ourselves. We're like a little kid that gets smacked in the face by their mom, for talking crazy or something. So then they run out and smack their hand with a hammer. How much sense does that make? So people, I'm going to finish this by saying just these two things. Number one, we need to be getting our hands on our children by any means necessary. We need to be going and adopting them, both informally as well as formally. We need to be getting some of those resources that they steal from us on a daily basis back from the state and start circulating that shit into our communities. Open up day schools, daycares, home cares, foster homes, whatever the fuck you have to do. But we need to keep our hands on our children. And when these incidents like this occur, rather than outrage, we need to start seeing some action on every single level. I'm not talking about just ass kickery. You think that's the go-to, but that's not. Where the hell are our funds to get a black lawyer to represent this boy so they can sue the shit out of these people instead of giving that money to some white lawyer who's going to get a third of whatever he gets from them anyway? Where's our funds to try to find an actual black family, some family that actually understands what this boy has to go through to be his parents, to be his family? Where is our efforts to actually remove this child from a situation, a circumstance like he faces in Dietrich now on a daily basis? This boy's name is for shit in that place. He will forever be known as the boy who was raped. And if you think that the rape itself was the trauma, the violation of this boy's name and dignity is even worse than any damn thing they could have done to him physically. That's all I got to say about it. We need to have less talk and more action to try to stop these things from happening. And when they do happen, we need to address them definitively, finally, and we need to address them point blank and not run from them. As long as we keep hiding, as long as we keep Facebook funking and all this other bullshit that we be doing rather than actually doing something productive, then I don't want to hear any false outrage from any of you when this stuff occurs. Just like I hold the pale people to a standard that if they are not actively fighting against racism, white supremacy, and I'm not talking about just doing this, I'm talking about through thought, word, and deed, then we don't have anything to discuss. In 2016 and moving forward, any of my people that are not actively in a struggle for our liberation as a people, I love you, but you don't have nothing to say to me. And that's the end of that. It's your boy Mark Black. More videos are coming as always, and leave comments in the bottom. Get at me on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. All my social media stuff is there on my main page. I want to hear from you people. I want to hear what it is that we actually plan to do about situations like this. I don't want to hear any more talk or outrage about it. We already know their psychosocial and their psychosexual makeup is outrageous. That's not news. What would be news is what we intend to do to address it. Until my next one, love, peace, prosperity, and power to my people.